Hello, welcome to Win Some Lose More. My name is Dieter, and I'm joined again by my brother Rick, and we are doing the Too Loose Top 100 games. We have entered the top 50. Today it's 50 to 41. I was just saying to Rick before we started, there's some bangers in here. Not a word I like. Don't know why I said it, but they're here. Great games. Rick, what's your 50?
My first banger.
First banger.
Number 50. My number 50 is a bit of a banger, actually, because you are trying to stop bombs go off.
Yes.
Because this is Fuse. This is a real-time dice drafter, I guess you'd have to say, from Kane Klinko, where you're just trying to find the right combinations of colors or numbers or equations of numbers that are laid out on some cards. And once you've fulfilled that, you defuse a bomb. And you're working together. And one person might want, oh, I need two reds. And the other person said, well, I need two fives. And there's a red five come up. So there's a little bit of debate. Well, who gets that? And you're up against the clock. And so the tension is palpable. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I'm sure you'll talk about this later. This is my number 50, Fuse.
This very day, I have ordered it for our mother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're going to give her a heart attack?
No. I taught it to them last time I saw them.
Okay.
And she added it to her list. And so I saw it on sale today. So I had to call her and quickly go, is this the right number? Is this how much you want to spend on it? She's like, oh, yes.
We need to rewind ever so slightly. She put a game on her list.
Like a mental list, yeah.
Okay, fine. Well,
no, she doesn't have any technological list anywhere.
No, but that she wants a game that's always good.
It's great. She wouldn't play my number 50, but I would love you to. I don't own it anymore just because of it wasn't getting played, and I think I'd played it to the point where I would want the expansion, but I traded out instead. This is Evolution.
Yes.
One of the most bizarrely thematic games. Obviously, it's completely abstract. It can't be that thematic, but you have kind of little boards with cubes in, so abstract, to represent each herd, each species that you are working on. But then each round you get to add traits, add cards to it to make it suddenly be able to fly, or to be able to climb things, or to be a carnivore, or whatever it is. You are altering it just by one little thing. So it's you're evolving it, obviously not at any rate that people claim Macroevolution happened, but we're playing a 90-minute game. And then you have to feed them, and herbivores obviously need plant food from the center, and then carnivores get to feed, and then they feed off other people's herbivores, and so you have to balance. But then if you've got a hard-shelled herbivore, they can't be fed on, and there's just enough going on that it's just really clever.
Yeah.
The base game that I had has a slight carnivore advantage. This was kind of thing that they worked out and developed. So then they brought out Evolution Climate, which you can either buy as an expansion or a complete product, which just adds hot and cold climates. And so different size creatures will benefit at different things. It just levels it out. If I were to get it, I would get that. Or if I was to get it again, rather. But it's a fun game.
Yeah, I like the
nice
look of
interaction.
I like the look of Oceans, its follow-up as well.
Yeah.
I'd like to try it. So my number 49, I've paired a couple of games together, one of which you've mentioned, but the other one you haven't. And this is Forbidden's Desert and Island. I think you could easily argue for the fact that they're different systems, but I don't think they're that different. And I do agree that I think I prefer Forbidden Island to Forbidden Desert, but Forbidden Desert is a more sophisticated game.
Yeah.
And so I think it's kind of horses for courses. And, we talked before, didn't we, about the visceral nature of Forbidden Island, the way that the board disappears and you go, oh, my word, I am running out of space and thus time, because as well as the board disappearing, so the cards deck disappears. And when you get through that, well, then you're stuffed because it all goes around again. And so there is real ramping up of in that thing. I think that Forbidden Desert has got more going on. There are more ways to die. There are more variables going on, but it doesn't have that quite the same feel. But I like both of them quite a bit. We don't own any of them anymore, and I'm really looking forward to the time, though, again, where my eldest rather is old enough to get to a place where I could walk this through with her. And it's great that it's co-op. It's great that the toy factor is high. And let's be honest, these are designed for kids. You know, this is Leacock's kid line compared to Pandemic. So I'm really looking forward to getting them in my collection again. They just don't have a place right now. But yeah, really like both of them. Number 49, Forbidden's Desert and Island. Not played Sky, not really bothered about playing it either.
My number 49 is from a different family of games. This is Leader Games, and their asymmetrical genius. This is the kind of one that kicked it off for them. This is Vast. I know you've played it as well. I think it was you that took me into it in the first place. And again, this has a similar, what I was saying about Cry Havoc last time. I played it at 2, a lot, and I played it solo a good amount. So it was fascinating. Every character, every faction, you know, it varies. There's a knight. There are 3 tribes of goblins. There's the cave, for goodness sake, a dragon and a thief, whatever it might be. They all play incredibly differently. And I think your point about the level of asymmetry is that the goal of each of them is very different as well. And playing in 2 or solo, and you have like a programmable cave as the character fighting against you, you don't get the full scale of how everything intertwines. So I've thoroughly enjoyed this. It moved on because, again, that steep learning curve. The way you teach the game is you hand everybody their sheet of double-sided A4 and go, chat to me in 10 minutes. And that doesn't quite seem a fair thing to bring to a games evening unless people are committed to doing that from the off. So it's brilliant, design wise, brilliant aesthetic. Again, Carl Ferrin mentioned it before. Brilliant production, excellent, and it's just that learning curve and trying to get enough people to get the most out of the game more than once is going to be where it's a bit tricky. So it did move on from my collection for that reason, but my admiration for it is massive.
And I actually think, having played it, that I don't think I'd want to play with anything less than 3. Because you've got that sort of rock, paper, scissors nature of knight chasing the dragon, chasing the goblins, chasing the knight sort of thing going on, that even at 2, it's going to feel shortchanged. So I can totally understand why this wouldn't have lasted. But yeah, and also fascinating that it's their asymmetric line of 4-letter games.
Yes, well, all their games are 4-letter.
Yeah, weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, there you go. Okay, my number 48 is Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
We're always so close.
Yeah?
Well, we've not yet crossed over on a list, but
we have
between
once on Zularetto, I think.
Zularetto, that's right. But we've had quite a few where I've mentioned it and then you've said it next time, or you've mentioned it and I'll mention it next time.
This will come up in your 30s, will it?
I believe so.
Okay, cool. I mean, caveat on this one, I've not played Between Two Cities and I've not played Castles of Mad King Ludwig. And so I don't know how this compares. And I know that people do compare them. But it's another drafter. And a bit like your Seven Wonders or Sushi Go, you get given a hand of stuff, you pick one, you pass it on. The kicker to this is that, well, firstly, they're not cards, they are tiles. And you are working with your 2 neighbors to build 2 castles. This is why you are between 2 castles. And at the end of the game, this is the genius of the thing, your lowest scoring castle will be the one that is your final points tally, which means you cannot just focus on one and leave the other one to burn. And so you're always picking, okay, I want to benefit this guy and I want to benefit that guy. I could benefit this guy, but actually I really want that to benefit that guy. And I know this neighbor's going to be mad about this one, but that one's going to be really happy about that one. And it's just another one you really need a big player count on, actually. And unlike Seven Wonders, where you get to 7 people and you're like, I don't know what's going on, this, because you're working with your neighbors, I think it's okay at 4 and 5. And I think 2 and 3 would just feel a little bit congested. But yeah, really enjoy this one, Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig, number 48.
So to further my suggested point, I'm going to mention a game that you've mentioned before, but I think it was a couple of lists ago. My 48 is Dice Masters. So this was that one-on-one duel using comic book characters that are in dice form. One thing I wanted to mention, just to add, I won't retread trodden ground, is that compulsive buying that is inherent with collectible games, they actually tweaked their model, which I was super pleased about, and you now buy enclosed sets. There aren't the booster packs anymore. You can still get them. They're still out for the various versions that they did, but new stuff is now just, here is I think they even do campaign boxes where you have something of a story to work through. But I showed you last time my Spider-Man box. That's what I like now. The kind of meta of collecting everything. I have so much of it that I have enough of it. I don't need everything. And so I will just now get any sets that I like. So characters that I'm familiar with, that's the joy of it you mentioned last time. It doesn't matter what world you like, what characters you like, they've probably made sets for it, and you can just go after that stuff. If you want loads of Deadpool characters, just buy all the Deadpool stuff and you have as much fun in that world as you like, or X-Men or Superman or whatever it might be. So yeah, excellent game. A little bit higher for me, but then I'll have played it more than you and seen more of what some of the mechanisms come out. But a great one, and I'm very grateful for it. Dice Masters.
My number 47 is a party game. It was released, I think, in 2015, and it is Codenames. I feel like I don't have to explain Codenames at this point, but I will give it a best, get a little bit of a spin. You've got a 5x5 grid of words. Now, you can get Codenames pictures where those are not pictures, words, but they are pictures, abstract pictures, maybe a bit like Dixit. And then you are given a map as a caller, and you are looking for certain colors which have been highlighted on this map, so i.e. certain words. And you give a 1 word and 1 number clue, and you say, so there is 3 things that relate to the word spy. And then your teammates has to guess which words you're going for. And it's one of those achingly simple games that you go, how did no one think of this before? And particularly the designer is Vladimir Chvatal, and you go, or is it Suchi?
No, it's Chvatal. Yeah, Chvatal, but he's so diverse. It's insane.
You think about the stuff that man's done, and you go, how did you just come up with Codenames? Oh, just dash one out before breakfast. Yeah. Incredible game, and you can just play with everyone. I personally prefer the words version to the pictures version because I'm more of a linguist, I guess, than a picture person. But I didn't mind pictures. I like on some of the branded ones that they have words on one side and pictures on the other, and then you can mix and match. So they've done loads of stuff with this system, and it just really works really well. Again, another one that maybe is slightly artificially high at the moment because it worked on Zoom, and so we've got to think about the nature of where we are today. But yeah, really like Codenames. My number 47.
It won't be on my list. My preferred version is Duet, the cooperative version. Again, I have a bent towards 2-player games, and normal Codenames doesn't work 2-player. But it's fascinating because some of your clues overlap and some of them don't, because we're both looking at the same set of words. But we've both got 9 that we're going for, but there are a total of 15. So like 6 of them will be the same and then 3 of them will not, or whatever it is. But one of your words is my assassin, which would mean we instantly lose. So
Ooh.
subconsciously, I'm going, no, it can't be that one because that's the assassin, but it could be. And so it's very mean, but a good twist on it, but just didn't quite make mine.
What's your best number that you've ever achieved?
In one turn, probably only, I say only, I'm super proud. I think 4. Meh.
Yeah. I remember doing it, and the person who got it, I was just like, yes, come on, we are on the same wavelength. Very, very pleased.
Again, my number 47 is one you mentioned. It might have been tail end of last time, actually. So only 4 places different. This is Charterstone. For all the things you said, I have finished the story. It's all 12 games, and there's just lovely little twists that pop up. Yes, the narrative itself isn't anything particular. It's okay. And there was one narrative choice at the end that I was like, but just lovely twists on the game. And having now lent it to you, it's been now what, a year or so, at least 2 years maybe. So now I'm at the position, because we burnt through it quite quickly. There's 12 games in a short space of time. I was kind of done with it. I'm now at the point of going, yeah, I want to see that world again. I want to get back into that, the puzzle of the bumping and everything. So,
well, if it wasn't so heavy to post,
I'm definitely keeping the metal coins that it comes with, because they're lovely. I like metal coins. Nerd. That's my 47 Charterstone.
My 46, we have talked about a lot in dispatches, but no one's actually had it on their list yet so far. And this is Dominion. This is the daddy of the deck builder. And you told me before we started recording that I've gone on a rant about a deck builder in the last 2 tens. So I'm not going to do that this time. But just worth saying that this sits higher than Trains. It sits higher than Harry Potter. I think Trains is possibly slightly better because it's got that board system, like I said. But Dominion is the daddy. Dominion has got loads of expansions, and it keeps testing the fields of what it could do. The art style is not really for me. I don't care for black borders. I don't really care for sort of, I call it magic looking art, yep. Sort of photorealist drawings. It doesn't do anything for me, but mostly just looking at the numbers and the text. So it's fine. You can kind of ignore it. There are a couple of take that cards maybe that we don't play with, but there's so much of it now. That doesn't really matter. So it's a great deck builder, Dominion 46.
Right. My number 46, I have grouped a couple together, but not all of them. This is the Ticket to Ride games, but I'm specifically talking about New York and London.
Okay.
I, like everybody, like Ticket to Ride. It's a good game, but it's a little big and a little long for what it is for me. I like, if I'm going to sit and play something for 90 minutes, I know it's not often 90 minutes, but an hour to 90 minutes, then I want a little bit more decision space than Ticket to Ride gives me. Okay. But then they come out with a condensed, in every possible way, version. New York first suddenly goes, here's your experience of Ticket to Ride in 10 to 15 minutes. And you go, no, that's not possible. It's not possible. All right, maybe it's for 2 players. Okay, we sit down, we play 2 players. Yeah, that was great. That was really good. They did the job. It wouldn't work with 4. There's no way it works with 4. The board's too small. We play with 4. They did it. They did the job. I don't know how they do it. Well, we're coming out with London now as well, and we've got this new mechanism. Okay, I don't really like that mechanism. Oh, it works. It's good. At every turn, I haven't tried Amsterdam. That's just come out, but these little ones give me the experience of Ticket to Ride in a time frame that makes me want to play it again, and just have those neat little twists that just make this such an easy, comfortable game to teach anyone, as Ticket to Ride always is, but without the pressure of, if you don't like it, you're sat here for an hour. It's if you don't like it, we'll be done before you've been able to form that thought, and you'll probably think better of it because of it. It's just a great example of it. Ticket to Ride for me, New York, but London, New York, I'll take either.
Yeah, I think I think it's incredible that they managed to do that. And I have lumped it with all the other Ticket to Rides later on. But I think it only does about 80% of the job that Ticket to Ride does, because it is a lot more swingy because of the nature of chance, because you haven't got that much time to sort of balance out I drew that card and that really helps me.
But then you don't have the same amount of time to feel bad about it.
Exactly.
So that's the payoff.
And do it again.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it works. Okay. My number 45 is Targi. Yeah. Very balanced, neat, two-player worker placement, and then I don't even know what to call this. Subsequent worker placement of you put two guys in, and then where they point to, then that also becomes places where you put workers as well. There's some set collection, there's some adjacency rules to the stuff that you collect. There's a bit of a race thing going on as the guy goes around the track, and you've got a bit of time pressure. The theme is dry and Euro-y as the desert it's drawn, but it just works. It's really smart. And to be honest, my wife's main complaint of it was that it was too neat. You know, when a game is almost too well balanced, because we were within 1 point of each other, and she's like, well, that's no fun. I want to batter you. But, that's just her. Yeah, super neat, super good. And the only game of note that he's designed.
Yes, yeah.
Incredible.
Apart from the expansion, which is almost a second version of the game. So he's almost redesigned it. But yeah, that's all he's really known for.
Yeah, 45 Targi.
Okay. Now, I wonder if your wife will prefer my 45, because it's just bizarre and unpredictable. This is a game called Imaginarium. It's just over my shoulder. Mm-hmm. It is weird. It's super weird. Visually, it's some weird steampunk hybrid-y, like elephants with cottages on their back with steam coming out of their knees. Or some it's all just very strange stuff. But it's basically an action selection game. You've got a worker, which is this, again, very bizarre bust that you place on a conveyor belt of actions. And typically, so the first set of actions are cards that you want to build, these machines that you're getting. And the further away from the starting position, the cheaper they are. So you want to go further away. And then beyond that is just free. It's charcoal, but the resource that you're using, one of the resources. But so that means you're going to go first in resolution, but it also means you're then last, like King Domino you mentioned. Yes. You're then going to be last coming back.
Who's the designer of this?
Again, I think it's Bruno Cathala.
Yeah, because he's used that mechanic a couple of times.
Yeah. And so that's just the action selection bit. And then you have a second action selection bit. Once you're activating your character, once it's your turn, you've then got an action selection board, which has two hands on it. Again, like a clock, I mentioned this for Glass Road. And so you move those hands and they're at a fixed position from each other. So you have to do two adjacent actions on this wheel. And the next time you can't do both of the same again. You can move it one space and do one and one, but the actions don't necessarily complement each other. So you want to do this thing over here, and then next round you want to do this thing over here. So you have to choose which of these other ones are actually helpful to set up something else you're doing. So it's just really thinky, a lot of fun. In the midst of that, you can get these helpers, which are largely like bizarre looking orangutans with top hats and things. It's all a mess, but beautiful mess. Just fascinating, a lot of fun. Two-player implementation works well. You get a little assistance. You get a semi-action as well that blocks off a space against your opponent. But 3 players probably where it's at. Because 4-player again could run a little long because it's quite thinky, but you're not having to double think about where you're going to place a second piece. So a really good one, underrated because just a bizarre look, really, really bizarre. But yeah, 45 Imaginarium. If that hasn't sold you, I don't know how to do it.
I'm on the fence.
Sure.
My number 44 hasn't been overlooked and has been well played and well received. And there are 3 versions to date and then some expansion-y versions of it. This is Spiel des Jahres 2018, Azul.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. What are the expansion things?
Oh, there's like, I think it's mainly just sort of different
Boards.
tokens and stuff you can do.
Okay.
And I forget, I haven't really looked into it because actually I think base Pandul, base Azul is
Azul.
Azul. I was going to say Pandemic. That's totally a different game. Base Azul is fine. Now I haven't played the other 2, so I could be talking utter rubbish. And I do like the look of the rhombuses in Summer Pavilion.
I'll tell you in a couple of weeks.
Oh, great. But Azul is a abstract strategy game, which isn't normally our bag, but let's be honest, is stunning. Absolutely stunning. But then how could it not be? Because the theme of Azul is make a mosaic floor. Great. Wow. And you have these beautiful little tiles that you have to lay out in patterns and collect the right ones. And it works at 2-player, it works at 3-player, it works at 4-player. It's thinky, but it's accessible. There's a bit of risk. There's a bit of planning. There's a bit of luck. It just works. It's great and it looks gorgeous. I can totally show you why it won Game of the Year. That's Azul. My 40, I've lost track. 4.
Oh, yeah, I'm getting the 3rd one soon. So I'll be able to tell you what I think of that in comparison. I think this is the closest we're going to come to getting a crossover on the same number. This is not Azul.
Oh.
This is Sagrada.
Sagrada.
So thematically very similar. Instead of a mosaic floor, it's a stained glass window in the Sagrada Familia. And came out at a very similar time, but isn't as accessible. In my opinion, looks nicer, but obviously component quality in Azul is undeniable. Because you're using colorful translucent dice. Now, dice, again, might put a lot of people off because it's that much more abstract. But it's a snake draft, so somebody rolls as many dice for the round, and then I'll choose one, then Rick will choose one, then our other brother will choose one, and then he chooses again, then Rick, then me.
Brothers.
You can, it's possible. The rules are a bit shaky on that.
Is that what a snake draft is? It's only for your brothers.
Okay, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
And so, yes, great. I get to go first and get the thing that I needed, but now I have to wait and I'll get whatever's left. So there's always a payoff as to what position you're in. So nobody is inherently better off or worse than another, although I prefer being second or third personally. And then you're putting those dice into a preset pattern. I forget what the grid is, 5x5, 6x6 maybe. There'll be a picture on the screen. Some of the spaces tell you what color it needs to be or what number it needs to be. Some of them are blank. You can do what you like. That's good because you have to place, you can't put the same number or color next to each other. And so it's this deep puzzle, which again might put some people off. For whatever reason, it's not as popular as Azul, but I love it. Wonderful solo I talk about all the time, because what you don't choose becomes your opponent's score, so you are responsible for your own demise, which I like. It's not just, oh, I flipped a card and it did something impossible and now I've lost. I had control. It was my choice that led to that outcome, good or bad. Again, it moved on from my collection, but this would be one of the ones that I would look at getting again, should space and resources allow. It's great, Sagrada.
Okay, my number 43 is another of those that used to be top 10, and it sort of pains me to see it in the low reaches of 43rd best game ever. And this is Dinosaur Island, which is a worker placement, heavily thematic. It's going to argue with me, but it is Jurassic Park, the board game. In this game. Now, yeah, it's interesting you were talking about Imaginarium earlier, because you were talking about you've got this action selection and then you've got this action selection. And I find when you have those sort of two-part things, it's quite difficult to teach, because you say you want to do this so that later you do that. But why do I want to do that? Well, I'll tell you about that in a minute. Can you just focus on this? But I don't know why I'd pick that. That's a fair question. This has got 4 phases. And a lot of the time, okay, right. So the first phase, we're going to draft dice, not snake this time. We're going to draft dice that are DNA tokens. You'll get DNA to make dinosaurs, but you'll also need to get dinosaurs. Do I make dinosaurs at this point? No, you're going to make dinosaurs in step 3. Okay, where do I put that? Don't worry about that. We'll get to that in step 4. But you'll get dinosaurs. You don't make you're going to get dinosaur recipes, and so then you need the DNA, and you've got these test tubes that you fill up with. I really liked it. It's so much fun, because in the end, basically, you're trying to build the best dinosaur theme park going, and there's a nice point system for that. There's loads of different stuff going on. I like this game. And then you let people in, and people come and give you money so that you can do more stuff next time. But if you don't have enough security, because as you build dinosaurs, big scary dinosaurs come with big scary threat. And if you don't build enough security to match that threat, as well as some wild threat that will turn up through the game, dinosaurs will break out and people will get eaten or trampled, and that's bad for business. So you lose points. You still get their money. I think that's really important. This is brilliantly capitalist. Don't worry, they paid the admission. We'll just have to lose a point for the reputational risk. Anyway, and there's some hooligans that try and break in, all that kind of thing. I really like it, really like it. And I looking at it at 43 going, wow, how can it be this low? It's because, again, we talk about, does it get to the table? Yes. If it's just me and my wife, we can blitz it in probably 40 minutes. If I'm trying to teach someone, you have to, people are really excited to play this, because they're like, oh, shiny neon dinosaurs. And then you get into it, and it is harder than they think it's going to be. And it's a little bit more obscure to teach. Yeah, that's why it's in 43. I still really like this game. 43, Dinosaur Island.
Lovely. I won't argue just for time's sake, but it's dice. It's never thematic unless it's Dice Masters.
Or Sagrada.
No, that's not thematic. It is an abstract. It's fine. My 43 is the beginning of my favorite trilogy currently. This was my first introduction to designer Shem Phillips. This is the West Kingdom trilogy, and my number 43 is Architects of the West Kingdom. This was the first.
This is your favorite trilogy?
Statistically, yes.
Okay.
Well, consider Century and New World was like 20 ago.
Yeah, okay.
Architects of the West Kingdom is a twist again on worker placement. This is cumulative worker placement, which is genius. The first time you place a worker there, you get 1 wood. And then when you go back and you put your second worker there, they both are working there, so you get 2 wood, and so on and on and on it goes. That sounds broken. That sounds silly, because what's to stop you? Oh, I tell you what's to stop you. Everybody else. They can go and arrest all of your workers and send them to jail. And you're like, well, now I get nothing going there. Oh gosh, well, now I need to go and waste a turn going freeing my people from jail. Or do I? Or do I just go invest in another space and do other actions and stuff? And there's morality, and you can get benefits by being corrupt and have access to the black market, or be good and be able to build the cathedral which serves the town. And there's all this stuff going on.
But you have to be good enough for them to take your money at the cathedral.
Yes.
You can't be a black art and then try and put money in the cathedral.
So there's this wonderful balance of all these things going on, and you need people to interact with. And that's why it's my 43, because I'm predominantly a 2-player person. And it is its weakest at 2-player. I did play 4-player, and it's great. I just wasn't having that much access. So table time, we're into that part of the list where this is very much about table time, not how good or bad the game is. This is my affection for it based on my experience of it, based on how often I get to play it, and I don't get to. So
now you didn't use the dummy player, did you? In 2-player?
Oh no, I did it. I played solo, so I know the dummy player. But again,
we've only owned it since we've been in lockdown, and so that's mainly just me and my wife. Have played it with a couple of other people when it was quieter in the summer, but we have used the dummy player, and I really don't care for dummy players that get in the way. They're faffy. You're trying to play as two people at once. This is super easy. You just like flip everything, do something that gets in your way, and you just, shake your fist at it and move on. So for me, it's good enough, but I totally understand the reservation. That said, love this game.
So good.
My number 42 is gorgeous, and I'm rubbish at it. And my wife is so much better than me at it, which you'll have heard several times on this list. So you might know now that it is not in my game collection anymore. It's photosynthesis.
It's so petty.
It's not petty. We don't have games that she can't play either.
I lost, so we're getting rid of it.
There are lots and lots of trivia and spelling games that we don't have for the opposite reason. This is so shape and color and abstract strategy, and oh my goodness, I can't do it, but it's great. It's great. Your trees. What a theme.
Because theme, yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got these little standy trees that come in 3 different sizes. And the way you score points is by felling the trees, which doesn't make sense if you're the trees. I guess you're a tree planter. Otherwise, just seeking to kill your own family. You fell the trees and you get points. And you can only fell them when they're at the biggest. And you will get the maximum amount of points if it's in the most fertile part. But to get there, you need to plant just basic trees around the edge and then send your seeds out to them. And there's an economic thing going on at the same time. How much money do I spend? How many sunlight points? Oh, I forgot to mention, the game's called photosynthesis. You need sunlight. And you're playing on this effectively hexagonal board, and the sun moves round the board. And you will collect sunlight points, which is your currency to grow trees, send out new trees, what have you. But you can only get it if you are in line with the sunlight. If there is a taller tree ahead of you and up to 3 height, 3 distance away, and the sun's in the front of you, you won't get any sunlight points. So one time you might get, hey, I got 18 sunlight points out of that one. And then you might go around, you're like, how did I just get 2? Because you're suddenly behind a load of trees. And the way it looks on the board, I can see it in my mind's eye now, that you've got different sizes, and you're like, go, hang on. Something's going to come around there. Am I going to be able to, I'm only going to get 2 points. Oh man, why don't I chop that one down? Great, brilliant theme, brilliant game. I can't play it for toffee, so it dropped down to 42, but I really, really like it. Photosynthesis.
My number 42 is kind of on the other spectrum of brain burny. Mine's bingo. It's not bingo, it's Tiny Towns. It's Tiny Towns, which is essentially bingo. But again, it's that abstract puzzle. This seems to be the couple of numbers for abstract games. But everybody gets you go round and round and round, and on your turn you say one of the 5 resources. No one knows what they are. You say the color. I'm going to take a red one. It's brick and glass and
saffron.
Stuff. No, it's not century. And you place it on your board, your little town, your tiny town, which is a grid. And there are buildings, communal shapes that when you've created that combination, so a red, a yellow, and a blue in an L shape, I get to collapse those. So take them off the board, take the appropriate building piece and place it on my town where one of those cubes was. Great. But now I can't put anything else on that space ever again. So I've shrunk my board. But each of those buildings scores differently. So at the end of the game, once your board is full or you can't place any more, you score all of these buildings. And that's super simple. But everybody gets halfway through their first game and goes, I've done it wrong. But in a good way. So far, my experience is people say it in a good way. And 90% of the time, people have gone, can we do it again? And then we'll suddenly get how they plan it, how they build it out. And then within the game, there's different versions of each building. So your scoring system is completely different each time. And you have a private building that only you can build, and yours will score differently. So each game is different, but the core mechanism is so simple. It's bingo mixed with one of these match 3 mobile games. It just works really well, and it's my argument against Rick's point against trains that AEG can't do good production. They can. It's great. Tiny Town's my 42.
My 41. I don't know if you've played. I certainly haven't played the follow-up. This is Voyages of Marco Polo.
No.
This is resource collection, camel bartering, voyaging game that I think you'd really enjoy. Have you seen much about it?
All I know is Dice Workers.
Yes, and that's about it. And it's actually quite a difficult game to explain. So I'm sorry, I'm probably wasting everyone's time, but I'm not going to spend too much time doing it because I got taught the game and I was like, I don't think I'm going to enjoy this. This feels too deep. This feels too abstract. I'm not really sure. I like the idea of the voyages and Mark. This doesn't feel like that. And then you play it and it's smooth, and the actions interact with one another, and it's just a lot of fun. Yeah, go check out a review because I can't do it justice in this 1 minute where I'm thinking off the top of my head. But I think everyone would be surprised at how playable this is when it feels so dense. And I know the second one is proving very popular. But this is my number 41, The Voyages of Marco Polo.
My 41, last one of the list, is again one you've already said. Last video, maybe one before. I am going to group them together. This is Sushi Go brackets Party. So I've played a good amount of Sushi Go when people have owned it, and I have owned Sushi Go Party and played yours and done the larger player counts and whatnot. And as I say, in a couple of days, I will have Roll and I'll see what that's like. So I'm going to group them all together for this and just say Sushi Go as a family for everything you said.
28 places difference.
With
28 places.
Okay. Yeah.
69.
I disagreed slightly with your statement about player count. Yes, Party and Go aren't great at 2. And there is a specific menu in Party for 2, and it's fine.
We always just shuffle.
Oh, yeah. I would say 4 is great. 4 and up is great. I know you said 6 to 8, but I would say, I'd actually say 4 to 6 is my pocket.
Okay.
Because I like that gamble of getting one back. Of here's my starting hand.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to choose this one. At least I know a little bit of information as to what might come around again.
Yeah,
whereas for 8 players, it's entirely reactionary.
Yeah.
You're not going to. So for me, not quite the full extent, but that it can play full extent. I'm going to make a comment more on drafting as a whole that we've alluded to, but I'm just going to say it explicitly. Why I love it is that 4 players and 8 players plays in almost exactly the same amount of time because it's simultaneous. That is amazing, especially if you're teaching new people. If you've got somebody that's thinking too long, it doesn't really matter. It's not going to add that much because we're not all waiting for them because everybody's doing it at the same time.
And peer pressure kicks in way more than if it's turn-based because they don't know that they've taken that long. When everyone's playing at the same time, they can see that everyone else is finished.
Yeah. And so then to combine that benefit and thing with Sushi Go, where it's so simple, so breezy, so easy going, that in Party, all the rules are on the table and in your hand on the cards. That menu tells you how each thing scores. The choices are so easy, but there's enough depth to kind of, even if you're taking a long time, you can go, I'll just take this thing just to move on, and you'll probably do okay.
Yeah.
It's not a punishing game. It's just lovely. And the art style is so inviting. No one wants to eat that sushi. You just want to make friends with it. And no one's wanted to make friends with sushi before, but they did it. It's lovely. I clearly like it more than you, I guess, but it's great.
It was top 10 for me. Probably just a table issue. Just hasn't hit recently.
Yeah, I would say in terms of Sushi Go to Sushi Go Party, it's a budget thing. Yes, there's a lot more choice in Party, but not enough that Sushi Go is bad. If you've got £5-10, get Sushi Go. If you've got £15-20, get Sushi Go Party. I think it's as simple as that. But so I've grouped them all together: Sushi Go Party, and maybe we'll see how it goes. Sushi Roll, my number 41. Great games, bangers, absolute bangers. And it's only getting better. I keep looking at my list, just getting super excited to even think about the games I've got on my list, let alone talk about them. But you'll have to stay tuned for that. And if you want to stay updated, you can subscribe to the channel if you don't already, and hit the bell icon so it gives you a notification when those other videos do come out. In between, whilst you're waiting, you can find me on social media and follow me. Just search Winsome Loosemer on the usual platforms. You'll find me. We'll be back again soon with another one of these, heading into the top 40. Are you excited?
I am.
Good.
Yeah.
Should be. I look forward to it. I hope you do too. I hope to see you there. See you again. Bye.